So, hey, we're back. We are here with Gwen McCullum, and we're going to be talking about life after divorce. So, I'm excited about it. I haven't been divorced, but I think, this is something that we need to venture into because a lot of times when people are divorced, they're just in a really weird space. The friendships that they had may not necessarily be there anymore. There's a period of loneliness. There's a period of separation. There's a period of death. And I just like a kind of a dying of a relationship. That's what I mean. And then you got kids, and then it's just all kinds of things that go on. So we're here with Gwen McCullum, and we're going to talk about her journey and maybe provide some answers to some questions that you may have. All right. So we're going to introduce you, Gwen McCullum. Hey, Gwen, how are you? Glad you're here with us tonight.
Hello, how are you, Andrea?
Doing very well. So, Gwen, I know you have a Facebook page. You're a fellow blogger, and you got a couple of Facebook pages. I know, like me.
I do. Yes.
But just tell us a little bit about your it's life after dating after divorce page, and then some of the other things that you do, and just who you are, maybe a little bit about your background.
All right. As you said, I'm Gwen McCullum. I was married for 15 years, had 3 amazing boys in that marriage. It did fall apart, and I was in a place where I never thought I would be, which is divorce court. I mean, who would have thought? Yeah. So my kids were 14, 12, and 7 at the time, 3 boys. And suddenly we're in split houses. We're going through this divorce. It was hard. We've had 11 years since then, lots of ups and downs, learning a lot of lessons, trusting God a lot. In the middle of those 11 years, I had cancer and went through breast cancer in the middle of that. Yes. My kids were a senior and junior in high school and a 6th grader. And so that was real interesting to add that into the whole mix of single parenthood. I'm a writer. I do have a blog. I have a book called Daring Adventures of Single Parenthood, a devotional for single parents. I do have a Facebook page. My writer page is My Ramblings, Gwendolyn Irene Writer. And then I'm an administrator on a page with another lady called Dating After Divorce. And it is for Christian women. It's a secret Facebook page. No one can see who you are. No one can see what you post. And so we can get on there and we can encourage each other. We can share funny pictures. We can share scriptures. We can share our hurts trying to date and navigate this world after we've been divorced. And so if you have any interest in that page, send me a message and I'll get you hooked up to it because it's a little hard to find. But yeah, so that is just me in a nutshell. I'm currently in grad school, and I'll be transferring to the Townsend Institute for Counseling at the end of February.
Wow. So, yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. So you can be my professional soon. Okay.
There you go.
Have you on here talking about, God knows whatever.
Oh, who knows? Yeah, who knows?
But Gwen, I really, we don't necessarily profess to be professionals, but I do like to talk about different journeys and really kind of get into it and share stories and things of that nature, because I feel like, another person's testimony can be another person's victory. Another person's testimony can be someone else's freedom. So I wanted to talk about this subject because I think there's a lot of women that are out there, or men that are out there, that find themselves in this in this tumultuous place of having to get a divorce. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about let's kind of lead up to walking through and making that decision to get a divorce. Like, tell me what that looked like for you.
I was in an abusive and toxic marriage. So it was by the time I came to the point of things need to change, I was broken. I mean, really, honestly, I was broken. I thought that by taking this stand, things would change. They didn't. And then here I am, going into divorce court and dealing with protective orders and, just walking through this line of family court. And there is no preparation you can take for family court. It is a massive system. You're in front of a judge for minutes and they're making lifetime choices in your case. You have these broken children. They're angry, they're hurt, they're upset, they're depressed. Children, a lot of times, if they're teenagers, become suicidal. One of mine did.
Wow.
And you're in a broken place as well. You're trying to fix this. And even if you don't come from a place of an abusive relationship, you still come to this place where the marriage is disintegrating and you feel hopeless. Like, how do I fix this? What do I do? Is this really happening? Many, many women, they'll have a husband comes home and he's found someone else, or there's just so much fighting that the only way out they can see is to divorce. And so when you hit that moment, there's hurt all the way around. I remember a couple of years after I divorced, I was so upset over the holidays. My ex-husband was wanting to change some things. I was mad. And I was talking to a friend's dad, and he said to me, there's 5 people hurting right now. And I'm like, no, there's not, there's 4. And he goes, no, he's hurting too, because this is not what anyone had planned. And it just kind of opened my eyes that everyone in a divorce relationship hurts at some point. Mm-hmm. And it is the closest thing I can relate it to is watching someone die. Wow. If someone is ill and they're dying and you're trying to get the medical help for them, you're doing what the doctors say. And it comes to that point where the doctors just say, there's nothing more we can do. They will be passing away. And so you are with that, you're adjusting, you're grieving before they even pass away. You've already started a grieving process. You've started to, try to figure out what you're going to do afterwards. But the difference is when that person that you love passes away, you have a funeral. You put you cremate them or you put them in the ground, but you have a service. Everyone says goodbye. Everyone brings you dinner. Everyone's checking on you. The holidays come. They're sending you little gifts. They're sending you cards. With a divorce, no one wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Let me ask, why don't they want to touch a person that would be grieving at this level?
There's a couple of reasons, but I think it honestly comes down to fear. Fear of losing the friendships with this married couple. Fear they may have to choose a person. Fear that it will happen to them. And so they just step back, and everyone steps back, and they keep stepping back, and they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. When someone dies, you pray for peace. When someone divorces, what do you say to them? So what a lot of Christians say, and they mean well, but they say, well, don't you want the marriage to survive? I'm praying for your marriage to survive. I'm praying for this or that. And, I had one person who came up to me and she said, I don't need to know the details of your divorce. I need to know what you are believing for. Are you believing for restoration? Are you believing to go on in life? And for me, I said, there's been a lot of things happening and I need to go on. And she said, okay, that's where I'll pray. That meant so much to me because in that moment, I was not judged. I was not told how to pray or what to do. I was just simply someone saying, okay, then I'll pray that your steps are led, that you have peace in the way you go, and that God will just surround you. There was no judgment. But I think a lot of people feel like they're so pro-marriage that I think they forget about the people involved in the marriage. So they've become so pro-institution that they've forgotten that it's people involved in this situation. They've forgotten there's children involved. They may say stuff and the kids are standing right next to you. and they want to come up and badmouth your ex, or they want to ridicule you, or they want to judge you, and your children are standing there watching. My children were hurt by youth leaders in their church when the divorce happened. And those are just things that you have to be very careful in situations of divorce, because there's so many different factors in divorce. But what it comes down to is it's people, and
Mm-hmm.
people are hurting at this moment. And to leave them, abandon them, judge them, it doesn't help them at all. And they really, most people going through a divorce feel alone.
Mm. Wow. You said a mouthful there. I mean, I don't I'm like, what do I ask next?
It is.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
a heavy topic.
It is very heavy. So let me ask you this. I know you said this thing, it sticks out. You said people are, when they find out that you're going through a divorce, their response can be fear. They're afraid of their own divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Why do
Because
you think that is?
I think they see the mirror. They see that they got into an argument before church. Well, we argue 2 or 3 times a week. Does that mean we're going to divorce? I'm doing the right things. I mean, they're in church, we're in church, but they're divorcing. Does that mean we're next? Are our problems too big? Are we going to be able to survive? And when the divorce rate is 50%, it's a very real question. It is. And it needs to be a conversation you have with your spouse to make sure your marriage stays strong. But I also think there's that fear in there of having to choose sides, and you don't want to. You love both the people, having to choose a friendship. And so it just gets scary. And when you get scared, you usually run from whatever's causing that fear.
Mm.
And that's really the time when people need you right there next to them.
Wow. Wow. Fearing to choose sides. Well, let me dive into this. So a little while ago, my husband and I, we had, some issues, and we were working through them, but we were very much in a place of trying to figure out if we were going to stay together. We had gone to several people to kind of tell them where we were, and we were surprised by the response.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of them rushing us and saying, hey, we're here for you, let's help put you back together if that's what you want, they ran.
Mm-hmm.
And we were alone
Mm-hmm.
during that period as well. Like, we had to come back together. There were like maybe 1 or 2 people that were there kind of as a support, but for the most part, it was like people didn't want to be around us. Is it true that, because see, for me, if we had, I would be single, you know what I mean? If we had chosen the opposite and said, hey, well, let's just call it quits, I would be single. Is it true that people are afraid that you might be interested in their spouse?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what is it that like, what is it that like, okay, you're
So
married and then all of a sudden, like, now you're going to be attracted to.
So a lot of people put a lot of faith in that little wedding ring on your finger. And that wedding ring doesn't keep someone from cheating. It's a heart issue.
Mm-hmm.
But when that wedding ring comes off, there are so many single women that we feel uncomfortable asking. We have to be careful because we're looked at as womanizers. They're going to come after my man. I walked into the church lobby and look at her. She is talking to my man. How dare she talk to my man? Well, maybe she's talking to your man because he walked up and asked her how she was doing. Maybe her sons are having an issue and she needs to know how to tie a tie for the dance on Friday night. Maybe she's having some car problems and she has nowhere to go. But it's that fear that she's going to take him away. And it's that own, how do I word this? It's that own, it's your own insecurity in your own relationship that comes to play, because you do hear about the womanizers. You hear from the pulpit, watch out for your man, watch out for your man, don't let any women around. And yet when you've got a single mom who's in a church lobby and she just needs to know, my car is making this funny noise, what do I do? I mean, I didn't know how to check the air pressure in my tires. My dad had to teach me that at 35 years old. He had to show me how to change the air in my tires. I never had to do that before. My oldest son, thank goodness, he likes cars. And so he would listen to the noises in my car, but still he was a teenager, And so I think that we've got to change our mindset. I really would love to see wives come up to these single women and say, my husband and I want to help you any way we can. If you have anything going on at your house or with your car, give us a call. I make it a point when I talk to a married man, if I'm texting him, to text his wife. Or if I'm messaging on Facebook, to include her in the stream, so that she doesn't come to a place where she feels like I'm coming behind her and I'm trying to sneak around.
Yeah.
But that's an awareness I really didn't have to have before divorce.
Yeah.
If I'm just talking to a friend's husband in a lobby and they come out and then we all join together and talk and walk out to our car, maybe go to lunch together. But
then now you're single and you're
now I'm
threat.
single. And the thing is when you go from being married to single, you don't feel either. You don't feel married. You're not, but you don't feel single. I mean, you're not at that single stage, and all the, single people, you're like, I'm not like them. Mm-hmm. And so you're in this flux, and most of your friends are married. When you're married, most of your friends are married. And that's a hard transition because you're losing these friendships that you've had for years because they don't want anything to do with you. The wife's concerned that you may be trying to get her man. The husband is trying to make sure that nothing ever inappropriate's done, which is good things, but it's taken to an extreme.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, and this is the thing that I'm, if you're a married woman and you're friends with a couple, right? It's like your spouse's friends. What changed between the time that you were married and then single? You're still a woman and a woman.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, why would you have to be overly guarded at that point?
Society. It just tells us we should be. It tells us that single women are after good men. And if you have a good man, then you're in defensive mode. You have switched into a defensive mode, guard my people. And you've put up walls, and this woman doesn't need walls at this point. She needs support.
It took me a while to get that, because I remember, I'm not saying that I'm not jealous over my husband, don't get me wrong. Like, I love my husband, totally don't want him to be, somebody else. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Whether they're married or single. Like,
hey, it was hard for me to see my ex-husband with someone. We'd been divorced 2 years when he got married.
Yeah. So I don't want to see him with someone else. But I did have to come to the realization that he's a grown man. I'm a grown woman. He's a grown man. And if he wants to keep the covenant, there's no way that I can stop him from keeping it or make him keep it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
And
has a
that's
free
where
will.
exactly. And that's where I think you need to see where your foundation is. What is your marriage built on? Is it built on something where every time something happens around you that it's shaky? Or is it a strong relationship?
Yeah.
You know, is it something where your husband can walk up to you and say, hey, Gwen's got her tire's really low. I'm going to go check the air pressure and just give her some help. But as single women, we feel like we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, but nothing.
And so we have to
change though. Like you're still a woman.
Yeah.
Being friends with a guy.
Yeah. But now we have to go find a new support system at a time when we need our support system. We're in so many pieces. Finding a new support system is almost impossible.
I hate to say it really sucks. I mean, it really is. It's bad.
It is.
Now I can't.
And I almost hate to say this because we're Christian women. I love God. I love my Jesus. I mean, it's just without God, I would never be able to make it. But when the secular world takes care of divorced women better than the Christian world, there's a problem there.
That is what I'm saying.
Yes.
That is what I'm saying.
When my girlfriend whose husband, they have not stepped foot in a church for 5 years, and he's going to come over and look at my hot water tank at 2 a.m, and she's not even blinking an eye. In fact, she didn't even get out of bed. That says something.
It does.
It does.
It does. I think sometimes we can be dumbed down to where we're not listening. Like,
yes.
We just refuse to listen. Something, oh, I knew that, you and I just had a conversation about that. But moving on. I think, we will have some sort of an intuition, like something is not right here.
We know when things aren't right.
Yeah.
And as women, we tend to know more than a lot of people think. We know what's right. And as a woman, if you know this woman who's going through a divorce and you don't have any stop signs, no red lights flashing, don't feel threatened. Yeah. Because at that moment, she doesn't need that. She needs a friend.
Yeah. I was wondering, it seemed like when you talked about the fear, to me, it seems like could be linked to shame, like a shame response. Kind of like, I don't have it all together. And if I don't have it all together, then maybe I can't keep it together.
Well, and there are hundreds of marriage books on the market, and they all tell us everything we're supposed to be doing to keep our marriages together. If you would do this, then your marriage will be divorce proof. If you do this, you won't get a divorce. If you do this, you won't do a divorce. And let's be flat out honest.
Please.
Are any of us doing everything that's in those books? No, because it's humanly impossible to do all the things that those books say to do. A lot of them are unrealistic in how we deal with marriages. And we learned that. And we've been married a while, but nobody wants to come out and say, hey, those books, maybe take the bits and pieces that work for you and your spouse and throw the rest out.
Yeah.
There's bits and pieces, but no marriage is the same. No couple is the same. No marriage is going to have the same strengths and weaknesses. There is nothing anywhere that says the woman must handle the finances or the man must handle the finances. There's nothing that says the woman decorates the house and the man builds it. There's nothing that says that. We have these roles that we have put on ourselves. And honestly, if you walked into people's homes of successful marriages, they probably don't even go by a lot of those.
No. So my husband, like when I first got married, okay, like no joke, first got married, we're having kids, and I'm ready to love on my kids, and he's got them. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm just loving on the kids. I was like, so when do I get to do that? And he was just like, oh, you can, but I have them right now. And like, I would say I had them like, they were kind of wrapped around I was kind of wrapped around their fingers until they were about 1.5. And then all of a sudden, husband steps in and like, I want to go with daddy, daddy, daddy. And I'm like, what happened to me? Like, what? where am I in any of this, in this whole picture? And a lot of times people say, well, the mom is really the nurturer. Well, my husband wanted to be more of a nurturer. Well, was I going to fight him on it?
Why?
Right?
Exactly. And
am I trying to like prove that I'm just this nurturing mom? I am a nurturing mom, but he wanted it all.
What if women looked at that and said, I know that for an hour and a half every night when we get home from work, I'm going to be able to breathe because he's going to come in and he's going to have the babies.
Yep.
Instead of, well, that's not your role. You're supposed to come in and put your feet up and turn on the TV. If we can just change our mindset that our marriages are not a textbook, they're not a workbook. They are two people with different strengths, talents, abilities, weaknesses, and they come together and form a team instead of a hierarchy. And instead of, it's God and it's the husband and wife, and they're working together to make their marriage work, whatever it needs to do.
Yep.
And I wonder if we're not going to get to heaven and God's going to go, y'all, I made y'all different so you can help each other. And you put yourselves in these roles.
I love it. But still, that's like the body of Christ too, right?
We all have our place.
We do. And just because you went from being married to being single didn't mean you left the body, right?
And you don't lose your calling.
You don't go from being a very intricate place in a person's life to nothing because you're no longer married. So I was talking to a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, and she was like, she's been divorced for a little while. And she said, I didn't like your husband before I got divorced, and I don't like him now. He wasn't my type then, and he's not my type now.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about, and I can see her saying that.
So, I mean, a lot of times I guess you just really don't have anything to be worried about. Like you said, unless you're getting like these red flags or,
And let me ask you this. Is it not also the husband's responsibility to make sure that nothing inappropriate is happening?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to put it
It's two ways
on both. It's not, and men are not dumb. They know when a woman is coming on to them. They know things aren't right. They know, hey, wait a minute, this isn't, I'm going to go grab my wife and I'm going to pull her into this. So we have to put just as much responsibility on the men as well.
Exactly. They're not like cavemen. They don't understand what's going on. He's oblivious. No, he's getting his ego stroked. Like, what?
Exactly.
He knows.
Yes.
He knows she's flirting with him. Like, really? He does.
Yes.
And I put it on just the open communication in the relationship. You have to be open. You have to be honest. You have to, be very transparent about what's happening.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, I don't know.
And I will tell you that when most women come out of a marriage, they can't even think about anything farther along than the next day. they're not. They're having to survive that day and get them and their kids through another day of brokenness, because it doesn't heal overnight. It takes years to heal. And when I see a woman who's been married 2 or 3 times, 4 times, I see a woman who never dealt with the hurt to begin with. And she's just hopping from relationship to relationship to relationship for validation. But it takes time to heal. And so when you've got a newly divorced friend, I can almost, she's not after your husband, because she can't even see past midnight and what's going to happen tomorrow.
So, Gwen, how can a person be there for someone that's newly divorced or that's been divorced for a while?
So if you've been friends with them, continue to be friends with them. Grab the girls and say, we're taking Gwen out tonight. Hey, Gwen, what's your custody schedule? When are they with their dad next? Oh, he walked away from all of you. You know, with me, I had joint custody.
Mm-hmm.
So up until my youngest graduated in 2020, it was joint custody. So they were at their dad's every other weekend, every Wednesday and Thursday. So my friends learned the schedule. But for a mom who maybe the dad did walk away, get a babysitter. Hey, we're hiring a babysitter. Or even, hey, they're going to come to your kids are getting dropped off at my house, and all the men, our husbands, are there with the kids, and we're going to leave all the kids with them, and we're going out to dinner and a movie. Get your stuff. You don't have to pay for a thing. Don't worry about it. Come on, let's go. And take her out. Show her that she is still important to you, that show her she's still a woman. Tell her to dress up, put on some makeup, do her hair. Seriously, you know, when you're in that divorce situation, that broken situation, and you're going through divorce and you're trying to figure out what to do and where to stand and how to take care of the kids and how to deal with everything that used to be a team effort and now it's just you sometimes forget that you're a woman. You know, you're not really putting on more than mascara. I mean, you're just not, go over there, get her dressed up, have her do her hair, take her, have a road trip if you can. Just help this woman know that she's still okay, because she doesn't feel okay. And as friends, you can step in and help her through this situation, because to her, she suffered a death with a man that is always in front of her.
Wow. That's good. That is so good. That is so good. Oh, I love that. I mean, I just, yeah, I love it.
And for the women who are divorced, you need to find your tribe. You need to find your ladies. You need to find your crew. And don't make it 10 or 12 or 15. You find 2 or 3, that you can just go to no matter what, that you can call and just be crying on the phone, and you're crying so hard you can't even form the words, and they're just going to sit there and listen to you cry. They're going to be the ones that drop by with a cup of coffee. They're going to be the ones who text you, and you're going to do the same for them. And so there's a transition period. The current friends you have should be the ones to step in, help you through it, be with you. And as you're healing, you still have those friends, but you also need to find the single mamas. Because this married friend, she's going to help. She's going to love you, but she just doesn't get it. She just doesn't understand what you're going through, and family courts and custody schedules and holidays. And I love the married friends of mine who stood by my side, but I love the relationships God brought with single mamas. And there's one lady in particular, our boys were the best of friends. And so therefore we ended up together all the time. And we ended up hanging out together. Mm-hmm. We take the boys to the movies. We take the boys out to eat. We'd get together and watch movies. We'd go do things around town. And she understood. because she's raising a son on her own. My youngest is his age. So she understands what I'm going through. She understands my frustrations, my fears, my desires, all of it. And when it came down to it, we were able to help each other. There was a summer when our kids weren't quite old enough to be on their own, but yet we both worked and they couldn't go to daycare anymore. They stayed together.
Yeah.
She lived a mile from where she worked. She went home at lunch and checked on them. There was a time when her son went to middle school next to where I lived, and drama practice was going to go till 4:30 every night. She didn't get off work till 5:30. Gave him a key to my house. He walked to my house every night, hung out there, helped himself to some snacks until she came to pick him up.
Yeah.
And I would get there sometimes before she did, sometimes after. But there's those your relationships will change after a divorce.
Yeah.
They will. And that's when you spend time in prayer and say, God, bring the right people to me.
Yeah.
And so your married friends are great. They understand your past. They were there for a lot of events, probably there when your kids were born. And they're still going to be there for you and love you is what they should do. But there's also going to come a set of friends who are right there in the trenches with you because they're in the trench themselves.
Okay. That's good. I love that, because I think you should be at a point to where you're adding to yourself. We know that you're adding to, not subtracting. It shouldn't be where you ditch the married friends or the married friends but now it's coming into full circle, and the Lord is filling in the gaps where some of those other places are missing.
Yeah, because when you're in a marriage, I had cancer 5 years after my divorce. I didn't have a husband to go to appointments with me, to be at home with me when I'm getting sick. I was in treatment for a year, surgeries, chemo, radiation. There was no husband at home.
Yeah.
It was me and my 12-year-old. And he was gone half the time because of the custody schedule. And by building relationships and friendships before that time came, never knowing I would have to have them. And then they're there during a very hard time of my life. My, mom was working full time and taking care of my dad, who was also ill at the time. So my friends stepping in was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
I didn't have a husband saying, I'm on my way home. Do I need to stop at Walmart? But I had a friend who sent me a text every time she was going to Walmart and said, what do you need?
Yeah.
What can I bring you?
Yeah.
And would never let me pay her.
Yeah.
And so those are the places where your friendships, they can't take the place of a husband laying next to you in bed and being your person, but they can be your people when you need them.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So we are going to come back and have another conversation with Gwen. I'm excited about it. This has been really good. Thank you, Gwen, for being here with us today.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.